Hello and welcome to the FisMaz Show. We've got another entertaining show lined up for you. We've got Crann in the studio, which means we're talking all things football, all things Absent Premiership, all things Sofa Women's League. It's all just the lovely game of football. That's what brings us together to this morning, and we're looking forward to a really good show today. Plenty happening, of course, in South African sports with the World Cup. The squad has been announced. The South African fans will no doubt be eager to see the Springboks out there doing their thing. A big congratulations to the South African men's and women's hockey teams for winning the Africa Cup out in Stellenbosch. And that was a fantastic performance from them, man. There's some plenty of things happening in the world of sports. Joe, do you like any other sports besides football?
I like watching some other sports. I know nothing about them now. Definitely not in a position to speak with any authority on things. You know, I like a lot of sports. Like, I go watch a lot of sports.
Yeah.
And I enjoy anything that gets people in a crowd, to be honest, and anything that gets people going. But I mean, so I go to the States quite a lot, and I've done NBA, and I've done college football.
That's a different experience, I'm sure.
It's wild.
Yeah.
You get the NBA, and it's just like an assault. Like, everything, there's no break. You know, the game stops, and then there's guys on a trampoline, and then there's women firing t-shirts at you for a cannon, and then there's the kiss cam, and then it doesn't stop.
Kiss cams are dangerous, you know.
Maybe
Maybe
the wrong couple, it's an issue. You know, if you're out with some other person that you're not meant to be with, and then all of a sudden you're on the screen. These people learn.
You know, it's happened twice to me this past season. I was doing cricket.
Nothing to brag about.
And no, not to be personally, Joe. Come on now, I'm a well-behaved individual.
I know, I'm joking.
The first one was in Durban. This guy had his arm around this chick, and they were nice and cozy. And I was actually commentating at the time. And next thing, this guy saw the camera and his eyes, and he just armed quickly.
Yeah.
And then in East London, I think the cameras went up to the VIP area. Oh, I've never seen a man move so quickly. As soon as he saw himself, he didn't even try it. Like, he got up and he
just ran.
And he just ran for cover.
Yeah. 2
minutes later, the camera came back on him,
and
he was just upset. He was like, "No, guys, seriously now."
What? How must the cameraman know? You know?
Exactly. You know. But but good fun as always. Springboks, you from England, and I mean they've got a proud rugby history. World Cup champions 2003. Have you watched the Springboks? Do you think they can do it?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't mean that in a negative sense. I just don't follow the game enough. Look, when England won the World Cup in 2003, I remember when we did PE in school, we got to choose what we did. Yeah. So we just did football every day.
Yeah.
But then for about 2 weeks
PE every day, great, nice life, huh?
Yeah, it's good. You know, it's good for fit. We got an obese country. We need to get rid of that. We used to do our PE teacher would just be like, "What do you want to do?" And we're like, "Obviously football." But then for about 2 weeks after the World Cup, we're like, "Let's play rugby."
Yeah.
None of us know the rules. Like, how does it work? Like, we just know we've got to get to that end of the field and put the ball on the floor. That was pretty much my knowledge, and it hasn't changed much, to be honest. That's pretty much still my knowledge of rugby.
All right, okay, fair enough. We're not going to put you out of
But
this.
I will support England in the World Cup until they're knocked out, and then I'll support South Africa.
Really?
That's how I work with everything.
Really, Joe?
Yeah, of course. I'm English. It's not like I grew up a little bit.
See, now I know why they don't like you on social media.
What? Because I'm not from here. Yeah, xenophobic.
But I didn't know that you'd done with you just kind of just post.
I can't be arsed anymore.
So
I don't know if it's going to be something that I do for ages or forever.
Yeah.
But I just felt like I just needed a break. And it just kind of felt like every time I said anything that was even mildly... Even if it wasn't opinion, I was just getting abuse for it.
Yeah.
And I just thought, like, for my own mental state, I can't do that, you know? I was getting to a point when I was waking up in the morning and I was checking my Twitter and it was just like, "You're a prick. You're a dickhead.
Yeah.
You hate this club. You hate this club. You hate me. You hate my mom." And I'm like, what? It's just constant.
Yeah.
And then, so I'm waking up in that position, and then I'm sitting through that all day. I go to bed, and just before I go to bed, just a little bit of extra abuse, just to just before I go to bed. It's nice, just before I go to sleep.
Sure.
So I kind of took a decision to kind of step back a little bit. So I'm still doing my stuff, I'm still doing my stories, I'm still doing my stats. Like, my work ethic hasn't changed. I just don't know if I can do the giving opinions on stuff on social media for what?
Yeah.
You know, I don't get paid for it. You know, I don't get paid any extra to give my opinions
and to get abused. Yeah.
So what's the point?
I mean, we laugh about it, but it's just crazy how some people operate, how people work.
Yeah,
and
it's sad, really.
I mean, I'm not saying that you're a nobody. I mean, you obviously you've carved out a good reputation for yourself within your space, but I look at Paul Pogba misses a penalty the other day.
He's not even close. I
mean, Temi Abraham missed a penalty that. I mean, forget racism. Forget about people are nuts.
Yeah, I mean, look, you look at what's happened with, like you say, with Temi Abraham, with Pogba, and just the racial abuse they get. Just the N-word, just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, people just spouting it, and you're just thinking, like, what? Like, where do these people get off? Like, what do they think? Who do they think they are to be in a position that they feel this is okay?
And then they say, oh, but you're an athlete, so you're supposed to get...
It's bullshit.
Man, it's absolutely rubbish.
No, it's
crap.
nonsense. It's nonsense. You know, when you're a public figure, you expect to be scrutinised. That's fine. You know... People should, in my opinion, be a little bit more reasonable with their critiques.
Yes, 100%.
I think there's a big difference between saying, I think you should have done this, I think it would have been better if you'd done that, to going, you were knobhead, like, you're awful, get out of my club, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But then there's a whole another level to that, when you start getting personal with people, and then you start calling on, I mean, some of the stuff you see online, people people... abusing people, saying someone's brother's died, and they'll make a joke out of it and be like, oh yeah, I bet you wish your brother was there, sort of thing. And I'm just like, I don't understand the mindset of people like that. I don't get the way their brains are wired.
And I mean, it's so hard to police that. I mean, how do the powers that be at Twitter or
I mean, I think
whatever,
with Twitter, it's got to be the only way to do it is to make it a one strike and you're out thing. If you say the M word once, obviously within reference, like if it's I mean, I don't think there's ever a time to say it, but if it's especially if it's in an abusive way, and it's calling someone something, I mean, you just gotta be like, cool, delete, get rid of your Twitter. And I think one thing that people have spoken about with social media is I think we need to have something. So when you set up a social media account, it's not just an email address. You need to give. I think you need to give a piece of ID. Either a phone number or something.
Something that people can track you with.
So if you say something that is hate speech, for instance, that we can find you. That you can't then start up another Twitter account. You get put on a blacklist. Because the problem is Twitter will block someone. They'll delete their account. All that kind of stuff. They just get another email address and set one up again.
100%.
So it doesn't really change anything. That dickhead's still going to be back on Twitter in 5 minutes. So and I do think that unfortunately it's going to take something like this Pogba thing for people to take it seriously. It's like with you. I mean, you don't have a massive Twitter following. Someone racially abuses you can complain about it, and then people will go, that's sad,
and that's that,
and you move on. Whereas with Pogba, people now take note, and I think that's what the guys have got to sort of play on. The guys of colour in all sports have got to use their position to try and push that agenda in terms of fixing the way that people use social media.
100%. I mean, social media is an extremely powerful tool, but if obviously used in the wrong way, it can be very negative. We've seen people so concerned about their images and sometimes portraying the wrong images, and
people go broke for Instagram.
Man, it's crazy. It's crazy, and anyway, but that's social media wrapped up. Let's shift our attention now to the domestic game. Obviously, the season has started like a house on fire. Plenty was expected of Orlando Pirates.
Not much getting there.
I mean, I look at the... shut up, Justin. Justin's busy pointing at me here, and he's been saying, I told you so. Hey, man, don't stop being a punk.
Did you say Pirates were going to struggle?
No, you didn't say they were going to struggle, Justin. You didn't say that. He just said they were going to come third.
Oh.
He didn't say they were going to struggle. Don't even lie.
So you
but he did call Chiefs doing well.
Impressive, because I work in the game and I did not.
I did not see that at all. You know, so he said he's a betting man, and clearly got some skills. Joe, we need to get Betway.
Get him on the show.
You know, we need to get him.
Interview him next. He clearly knows more than I do.
I had him on the show once, but I had complaints. You know, he said David Beckham's not a Man United legend.
Oh, come on, get out.
Yeah, get out, mate. Anyway.
To be fair, I said he's more Real Madrid legend.
How?
Because I grew up.
He won everything at Man United.
I grew up in a different town, guys.
Okay, sit in the corner. Put baby in the corner.
Turn around and face the wall.
So yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Orlando Pirates, because weird situation there. I mean, obviously we know the coach. You know the situation there. You know, coach went to Zamalek. Rulani's taken over. People have called him I don't know if it's more of an insult or a joke, but the South African Mourinho, because apparently
he knows it all. It always has been.
Oh, is it?
So for a long time he's been called
100%.
Mourinho. That was his name. Yeah.
Yeah, and that brings pressure, doesn't it?
It does. You know, the situation at Pirates is difficult, man. I mean, they've been through this strange patch for years now,
and it happens like it comes out of the blue, and it's almost like, and then.
And the weird thing was. Weirdly, I was at Christmas dinner when Micho announced that he was leaving. We were doing Christmas in August because, you know, it's cold.
I was about to say, like...
No, so, you know, because obviously I'm used to an English Christmas dinner.
Yes.
So, like, loads of like roast beef.
Yeah.
Yorkshire puddings and all that kind of stuff. I can't do that in December because I'll melt. Because it's too hot in this country. So me and Rob Forbes from Five.
Yes.
So me and Forbes, we started off as a joke. We're like, we'll do Christmas in July and we'll get a few bits and we'll buy presents. And then it just spiraled out of control, and like we made a massive Christmas dinner, like way too big.
Yeah.
But I was halfway through that because it's a Friday night, and then I start getting messages on my phone. Micho is leaving Pirates. What? No, surely not. So I go check, and then Pirates released that video of him resigning, and I'm just like, what? I mean, they've got a game tomorrow.
Yeah.
They literally had a game the next day, and then obviously there was a thing with Micho saying his mum was sick, and then stuff started coming out about Zamalek, and then he was like, no, it's not happening, I'm going home to Serbia, my mum's sick, and then he was in Cairo, and then he was the Zamalek boss, and it's like what?
Yeah.
It's just over the space of like 5 days.
Yeah,
this is all just turned on its head. It's weird.
It's very weird, and I mean, you touched on the fact that Paris goes through these weird spells. I mean, I remember when Mushin Etugal resigned.
Yeah.
Again, they hadn't done that badly leading up to that game. Then it was bang 6-1, bang, the world has ended. Now, a few weeks later, another like it was just.
Yeah, I mean, it's been what 5 years now since he won a trophy. It's been a long time, and I think it's just an interesting dynamic at Pirates, because I look at what they've done over the years, and you know, since they won the Nedbank Cup, they've bought some very good players. You know, they've brought some good players in.
I think they've assembled a really strong team at the moment.
The thing that's interesting to me is that I don't see why they keep buying midfielders and strikers when it's been obvious for years that they need a new centre back.
Well, they need a cup, because I mean, at the moment, I mean, it's a Champions League game. They played Maela and Jele, who, for the majority, I'm not saying players can't be converted, but majority of the careers they've spent on the outside.
The other problem that they've got, and I think this is why it made sense to me why they were going after Tyson, because Pirates for me need two things. They need leaders, and they need desperately a centre back who's going to be dominating for set pieces. Because I've been here for 8 years. And in my entire 8 years in South Africa, Pirates have struggled to defend set pieces, and that's like, it's just something that they've never really fixed. How many goals do they concede from set pieces, whether it's free kicks outside the box or corners? Like, they just concede all the time in that way. And now I look at the squad they've put together, and like you say, on paper it's a great team. And they've got a very, very good coach in Rulani. Rulani's brain, his football brain is insane. Like, I've had the luxury of sitting down with him, and honestly, he's incredible. But you know, I think one thing that they do lack is no one knows how to win a game. You know, you look at the starting 11 for Pirates. You know, obviously won things with Sundowns, but other than that, there's not really anybody there. You know, Happy won some things with Pirates, but not as a senior player.
Yeah.
You know, since he's come in, they've not really done anything. And then you look across the board. I mean, Mango won a couple of bits with Wits. Lambo won a couple of bits with Wits, but you know, there's just, you don't have anyone who you feel can drag them through. Whereas if you look at Sundowns, for instance, they're just a side full of winners.
Yeah.
You know, that team just knows how to win games, and they've got to a point now at Sundowns where they don't have to play well anymore. You know, if they play well, they win. If they don't play well, they'll still sometimes win.
Yeah.
And I think that's the sign of the top team.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Sundowns, the amount of times last season when they maybe didn't deserve anything out of a game, but they picked up a draw or they picked up a scrappy win.
Yeah.
Because they've got that little bit of brilliance there. You know, they've got someone who's capable of just, like I say, grabbing this team by the scruff of the neck and going, we're going to do something with this. You know, someone like Crann is a perfect example.
Did you see that goal the other day?
KK's just...
Woo! Man, no, he's a bad man.
Yeah, no, he's
a bad man.
KK's just he's a leader, you know. He's a
such a nice guy. Like,
yeah, ridiculous.
I was surprised. I'm like, geez, this guy is just a nice guy.
Yeah, stupidly nice.
Like
always greets you with a massive
it's
smile.
Like, it's almost like, do you know when someone? It's almost like he's acting.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
it can
like,
come out.
Are you really this
like,
nice?
Are you really do you really remember me? Like, you know? And he's like, oh, hi, my brother, you well? It's like, okay.
Lucas is like that as well.
Yes, yeah, great man.
Yeah, I saw KK yesterday at the PSL, and he's like, "How's it going, big man?" Gives me a big smile, and he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Like, and but I think, you know, he's a lovely bloke off the field, but he's a soldier on it. Yeah. And I think that's, like, say, something that some teams are missing. You know, and that's why I do think that Pirates going for Tyson would have been a big move for them, because he's Tyson's a warrior. He's, you know, if I look back at my time in South Africa, Tyson's one of the few guys who've been consistent throughout the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, I struggle to find players in the PSL who have been consistently good over many years.
Yeah.
And I think Tyson's up there, I think KK's up there. But how many times do we see a guy who will have like an incredible season,
and then
wins Player of the Year, and then disappears?
Yeah.
You know?
Geez, I think I can list a few.
Yeah, so I think that, you know, with Pirates, that's something that they've struggled with. I mean, I think that with the ability they've got in their squad, they should be able to outscore people. Even if they do concede, I think they should be able to outscore people.
I mean, it's an interesting point there, because I mean, look, I don't like comparing teams, but I mean, I think we can do that with this specific club, because you speak of winners. You look back at the back-to-back trebles. You know, you had guys like Benny McCarthy involved.
Lucky
Likhwati. You had Andile Jali, Opamanyisa. That's your spine. And you had Mayu in goal. You had Munib Joseph in goal.
Now they seem to chop and change all the time.
That's just lots of experience, lots of know-how,
100%,
and lots of dog. You know,
they know how to win.
Yeah,
know how to win ugly.
Yeah. I mean, I remember. I used to love watching Andy Lechali operate, and he had that arrogance that I'm here. This is my game. I'm owning it.
Yeah.
And sometimes you look at. I mean, I don't want to say guys like Mlambo don't have that or whatever, but they need but do they have that?
Yeah.
Do they have that?
It's like I say, I don't think they've got anyone who's going to dig a game out for you, and I think that's something that you sort of lack. I think obviously Ben Mochwari being injured has been a problem for them, because he's played really well. Ben's a really good footballer, and I think he does dictate things a little bit in the middle. But I just hope that they give Rulani time. He's found himself in a very difficult situation. You know, sure, he worked with Micho. You know, he knows the system, he knows the players, all that kind of thing, and I think we all expected Pirates to have a better start under him than they have. But this isn't the first time this has happened this season. You know, there's 6 games without a win. But this happened, sorry, not this season, this year. Back in, I think, January, February, the same thing happened. Under Micho, they went 6 games without a win.
Yeah.
And they also started last season really badly.
Yeah.
So I don't think this is a Rulani problem. You know, I'm sure he will look back on the games and go, I should have done this differently. I should have changed the way I did that. I mean, he's that kind of person. He's very hard on himself. He's very he's very specific about the way that he works and the sort of the way that he tries to get his players to work. I think the good thing for him now is that he's got 2 weeks to sort of get his ducks in a row, and I just hope that he's the youngest coach Pirates have ever had. We need to be in a position where we're giving chances to young black coaches, especially. Yeah. So I really hope that this isn't a throwaway situation where he has a bit of a bad spell and then they chuck him to the curb.
Yeah. Because it's almost one of those situations where you kind of feel if it doesn't work out now, will he ever get?
Yeah, where next?
Because straight away he's just a good assistant. You know, and that's always a bit
and that
sad.
kind of reputation sticks with you.
100%, yeah, especially in the world of football and South African football.
So I just really hope that he's given a fair crack at the whip, and I would hate to see some random come in who's got no idea about the culture of Pirates when Rilani's so deeply invested in the project there.
Another show, three.
Yeah.
All right then. Let's move across to. We've touched a little bit on Sundowns. We've touched on Pirates. A surprise package. I say surprise package not because they're a small team. If DJ Names is watching, he's probably going to argue with me.
Yeah, because Names has got his view of what is a big team.
Yeah. So he's like, we must have this discussion. What is a big team? But Kaizer Chiefs.
Yeah.
Surprising. I even look at the way they set up and I'm thinking, you've got Parker playing in all these positions.
Look, one thing you will always get with Ernst is structure.
Yeah.
He's got his detractors, he's a bit abrasive. He's
German,
Yeah, he's very German, yeah. But I think, like I say, one thing you do get with Ernst is structure. And look, I don't think you can fault him really. The game against Cape Town City, they didn't get back into that game by fluke. He made his changes. He brought Kieran Backus on. He switched the formation around a little bit. He made his changes and they turned the game around. That isn't down to luck. That isn't down to just a change of the player's mentality. Like, he actively made changes that affected the game, and that's what you want a coach to do.
Yeah, 100%.
That's what you want a coach to come in, and that's where they earn their money. It's one thing setting up your starting 11 and saying this is how we want to play. Then the next thing is being able to change it when things aren't going right. And I think an interesting stat this season: Chiefs have won 2 games from being behind. Last season they didn't win any.
Yeah.
They didn't win a single game when they went behind, and I think they only picked up 4 points from being behind last season. They've already picked up 6, and that is not a team that is unhappy. There's been a lot of talk about sort of certain players not being happy under Ernst and not liking the way that he works, but you don't fight in that kind of way and come from 1 goal down against a team like Cape Town City in Cape Town if you don't care about the manager. We've seen the player power situation so many times over the years of guys kind of down in tools because they don't want to work for the guy anymore, but that doesn't seem to be the case. You look at and credit to the club as well. They've brought in someone like Sami Nurkovic. Everyone when he arrived was like,
who's that? Yeah.
The guy was playing 2nd division in Slovakia. I don't know what that says about the PSL, that he's come here from the 2nd division in Slovakia and looks so good, but that's a different conversation. But yeah, he's come in. Kieran Backus, obviously he'll take a bit of time because he's come from sea level. Melbourne is literally by the sea, and now he's come up to Joburg and the altitude's hard. I moved from Cape Town to here and I thought my lungs were going to explode the first time I played football. But yeah, so he was taking a bit of time, but he came on against City and he changed the game completely. Aside from the actual goal, he just seemed to give Chiefs an extra option. It just seemed to be where they needed him to be. It's going to be interesting to see how long they can keep this up. I think Ernst has found this core of his team. There's 7 players who started every game. There's George Maleka, a couple of the guys who've played every game. So even though he's made quite a lot of changes within his matchday squad, the actual team itself is rigid, and I think that's one thing that is going to decide how well or badly Chiefs do this season is the injuries. Last year they had really, really bad injuries. Injuries to key players as well. Whereas if they can keep that core of the team together. You know, you look at your Matohos and Cardoso and Nurkovic and probably Bacchus coming in now, Maluleka. Obviously, Karma Billiat, if he stays fit and he stays on form, for me, he's the best player in the league.
Yeah.
Karma, when he wants to play,
turns it on.
No one can touch him.
But I mean, I look at the way they set up though, and I think Chiefs fans wouldn't have predicted that.
No.
Mbole,
No.
Parker.
Parker's playing as a centre midfielder, and he was a left back.
He played left back at some
Cape Town
stage. But I mean,
so.
we spoke about Warriors at some stage. I mean, he seems like he's like, where the team needs me, I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna put in a shift.
Yeah, but that's what Bernard's always been.
I've always been a massive fan of.
Bernard.
What do they call him? Deont.
Yeah. Bernard. Look, Bernard doesn't have the legs he used to have.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to keep catching up with him. You know, there's going to come a point when he can't do it anymore. But he's a sort of player that if Ernst says to him, Bernard, I need you to go in goal today, he'll be like, cool, wear the gloves. You know, he's that kind of guy. He's a good, honest professional, and I think he will. He started every game, but I think with Bacchus coming through, I do think that Bernard could possibly be more of an all-rounder this season. I think there's going to come a period when he doesn't start, when he does come on to sort of if they're winning a game, you need someone to come on and slow things down. Yeah. Similar way to I think the way they're going to probably use Willard Katsandi as well. Yeah. Willard is a soldier. He's a proper warrior. Yeah. And if you're needing to scrap a game out, he's the man for you. So I think that Ernst is going to be. It's going to be interesting how he sort of utilises the squad that he's put together. Yeah. I mean, look, they got rid of about 12 players and they've only signed 5. So he's working on a much tighter squad, which when they're all fit is great. It's much easier to keep them happy. It's much easier to work on your combinations and things like that. But as soon as people start getting injured, then you got a problem. So I think, for me, the key thing with Chiefs this year is the way that they keep that team together. Because you lose a Nurkovic, for instance. Yeah. Is Castro going to come in and do the same job as he is? You lose a Maluleka long term. Do you have anyone who can play that role the way that George can? So there's going to be a few bits like that, and I think Chiefs are also a massive confidence team. You look at I wasn't in Cape Town, but you could hear the noise, and there's very few teams in South Africa that can draw that. That can draw that kind of crowd and that kind of noise. Yeah. So Chiefs, it works both ways. When Chiefs are struggling, the fans either don't turn up or they turn up and they just give them
revolt,
shit. Yeah. But I think that when things are going well, that it's a genuine 12th man. It kind of with the game against Cape Town City, when they got that equaliser, it kind of just felt like the fans were kind of sucking the ball towards the Cape Town City goal. And when that winner went in, atmosphere is amazing, and I do think that Chiefs are, like I say, they're a confidence team, and there's a lot of players in that side that can draw on that kind of atmosphere to drag them through when they need a result.
Now we've touched on quite a few players from Chiefs, and you speak of confidence players. We've spoken about players that have been at the very top of the game, and it's been hard to replicate that. I want to highlight 2 players that have made mini comebacks so far. Lebogang Manyama, Eric Patoa.
Yeah, look, it's very interesting with Tower, especially because, with Manyama, his situation I do feel was, he came back from Turkey and his confidence was shot because he hadn't been playing and they hadn't been using him. He had a couple of injuries, he was in a car accident, all that kind of thing. So I do see it as a comeback of sorts, but I also feel like it's more the Manyama that we saw at Cape Town City before he went overseas. Tower's interesting because it's been a long time. Tower dipped when Tefu left.
He did, eh?
And it kind of looked like that was it. It kind of looked like that was him done. Even when he came back last season, he looked a little bit out of sorts and he didn't look like the player that he was. But this year, and I don't know what's happened. I don't know if Ernst said something. I don't know if he's been to see someone. You know, yeah. Look, it could be anything. You know, a lot of these guys, maybe they've gone to see a surgeon. They've had something fixed that they didn't know was. Maybe they've gone to see a witch doctor. You know, there's lots of different things that could have happened in his personal life. You know, maybe he's something daft, like, you know, maybe he's just happier in his personal life and it's reflecting on the field. I mean, we'd have to ask Tower, you know, we'd have to ask him about what's changed in his life. But this season he looks, I suppose, to some extent like a man reborn, you know. Look, I don't want to preempt things in terms of, you know, jumping the gun. They played against Highlands Park, they played against Black Leopards, they played against Supersport United. We played against Cape Town City, so they've done 50-50 now. You know, Highlands Park Leopards are games you would expect them to win. Cape Town City and Supersport maybe not so much, but I mean the Kermit's goal, for instance. You know, Tower got done for Kermit's goal when City went 1-0 up. But there's always going to be those. You know, there's always going to be those aspects of a game where you get done. So like I say, I just think it's going to be very interesting now to see whether this Tower is the Tower we have now, or whether this is just a little bit of a purple patch that he's going through. And look, for Chief's sake, I hope that this is a Tower back to when he was with Tefu, because when they were together under Stuart Baxter, they were superb.
Yeah, 100%. Look, we focused a lot on the big guns. There's also a bit of pressure down on the other end. Especially down in KZN. Eric Tinkler still hasn't registered a win so far this season, and Kevin Johnson. It's weird. It's going to be interesting.
Maritzburg are such a strange football club, because last season under Fadlu, before Fadlu left, they weren't playing bad at all. They were playing some good football. They were like defending really well. They were just drawing every game 0-0. They couldn't score, and it seems to be like happening again now under Eric. You know, they've got a similar situation. And look, I think they've done some really good recruitment there. I think, you know, with guys like Dale and Clarkson coming in, they've brought in some top players. I hope that they don't get trigger happy with Eric, because I mean, look, he did a great job last year coming in when sort of with the barrel to his head, and I mean they really turned things around towards the end of last season. Obviously, they're in a difficult situation at Maritzburg, because, you know, the year before they lost my boy, who was massive for them. Then this season they lost Makarenge and Lovu as well. You know, they've managed to keep people like Sianda, people like Richard Ofori, and that's good that they've kept players like that and that they haven't just gone wholesale selling. But you lose a player like Makarenge, who was massive for them. You know, he was, towards the end of last season, Makarenge was phenomenal. You know, the way that he kind of dragged the team through with his goals and his assists, and you know, losing a character like that is bound to play a role. Even if you do bring in quality like a Dale and Clarkson. I just hope that we get a little bit of time given to Eric, because I think he's kind of earned it. You know, the way that last season finished, I think it would be harsh to just bomb him. And I think similar with Cavan as well. I mean, they got points docked last season. They still finished at a reasonable level. Obviously, it's a results-driven game. You know, we are in a situation where if you go through big bad patches, there's consequences. I just think it would be a real shame if we start changing things up before sort of January. You know, I think with Eric, with Cavan, with any of the other coaches that are having a bit of a tough time, I think they need to be given a fair crack of the whip this season before we make any judgment calls. Because, I mean, look, last season Ernst, and look, we don't know what's going to happen, but last season Ernst was under massive scrutiny. They lost the Nedbank Cup final. Everyone's like, he's useless, get him out, rah, rah, rah. And now we're 4 games into the new season, and like I say, this can all change very quickly, but we're 4 games in, they're sitting pretty at the top of the league, and you know, they go into that international break 2 points clear. So it's a game that can change very, very quickly, and I don't like the trigger happy culture we seem to have in football, but especially here in South Africa.
Yeah. No, fair enough. And I mean, like you're saying, both those coaches, they've got top football brains. They've done amazing things in the local game. And time, it's a weird thing, time, because not everyone is even more so probably at big clubs.
Yeah.
But you can also say the so-called smaller clubs, because they need to stay in that top flight. I mean, obviously there's a bit more of a cash injection in the NFT. With Glad Africa coming on,
still not enough though.
But it's not the same, and it's never going to be the same. The prestige is not the same. The level of football, the stadium you play, like everything, it's you want to be in the ABSA Premiership.
No, of course, it's the only place to be, really. I mean, look, I think it's amazing that we've got Glad Africa on board now. I think the NFTs needed a sponsor for years. The only way that you better your entire game is by supporting every level. And you look at, I think obviously I'm biased because I'm from there, but the English League system is unparalleled. You've got teams who are playing in the 4th division who are still getting people going to watch their games. I mean, my team are distinctly average. We know
they're rubbish.
Rubbish is probably harsh. Average is better.
I'm joking, Joe.
Average, because that's neither good nor bad. But I mean, we still average. Like we've been average for so long. Like, we've won since I've been born. We've won 1 trophy. Sorry, 2. The playoff, the 3rd division playoff. But we still average 20,000, 25,000 people at games, and I think that you need to, and that is largely. Look, there's a lot of scrutiny at the minute because I'm sure you've heard of what's happened with Bury and Bury folding because of bad management of the club. And look, the EFL has its problems, but the way that the English league system works is amazing. I mean, we've got some of the money in the Championship now is wild. You've got people spending money in the Championship that is bigger than a lot of the top flight leagues in the world.
You've got some good international players playing there.
I mean, it's a great league. I mean, for me, it's the most exciting league in the world. I genuinely believe that, because you look at the Premier League and you go, cool, Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, those guys, and they're going to be up there. The Championship, no one's got a clue.
It's anything.
You look at the 24 teams at the start of the season, you're like, cool, they're going to do well this season, and then they finish 14th. It's like, what?
No, it's crazy. And I think the most entertaining game for me, without a shadow, I never miss it for the world, the playoff final. Like, the playoffs are always just like...
I love the playoff system. I wish South Africa would work that way. I think the playoff system we have now is a little bit flawed.
If you finish second to last, down.
I agree. I think I would much prefer to see the NFD go the English way. Where
100%
the top 2 teams get, top one team gets automatic, and then second, third, fourth, in 5th, they all get to play in a knockout situation, because it's good for revenue as well.
100%. And I think it'll just be more exciting.
I mean, the money in the English Championship playoff is mad. Like, they call it the most expensive game in the world, like the most rewarding game in the world. But I mean, I flew back for it a couple of years ago when Wednesday got to the playoff final. We lost to Hull in the final. I flew back for like 3 days. Cost me about 10 grand just to go watch us lose in a playoff final. But like, being in that stadium with my mum and my dad.
You guys are really average if you lost to Hull.
Hull are a good side.
Hull are rubbish. Well, who was coaching them? Steve Bruce. The king of relegation.
He's not. He's actually the king of promotion
and relegation.
It works both ways.
I just had to give you gears, Joe.
So I mean, look, we went to that game, and it's just, the atmosphere is amazing, and I think a lot of that's come down to the way that the lower leagues are backed, and I do think that now, you want to create a league where, so you want to create a situation where guys aren't going to be happy playing in the MDC. The MDC is a great system. It's a great league. It's good for young players, but you want to see the guys taking that step. So, you look at someone like Percy Tau. So Percy did his time in the MDC, but he also did his time out of Witbank Spurs. He did his time playing with senior players who are going to kick lumps out of him.
Yeah.
And you look at how many players in England have come through the league system. So they play for Man United. They play. I mean, look at Mason Mount.
Yeah.
Mason Mount went off and played. Who was it? Derby last season and had a great season. Now stepped up into the Premier League, and I think you need that sort of that differentiation between the leagues. And I think it would be good for South Africa if a young player who's 21, 22 years old, rather than going, cool, I'm happy sitting playing NBC because it's on TV, let him go out and slug it out with Royal Eagles, have a season.
And it's a mentality thing. I mean,
of course,
certain players, you want to challenge yourself, you want to push yourself and really go down to those lower leagues and say, right, I'm going to roll up my sleeves here, and I'm going to earn the right to be a top pro, Yeah. And I mean, another example, you look at, and you see it often almost with he's got this quiet, this quiet dog in him. A player like Dele Alli.
Yeah.
He was at Fleetwood Town, I believe.
MK Dons.
MK Dons, I mean, yeah. He was at MK Dons, and I remember Spurs signed him, and he stayed there. But he was playing.
I mean, David Beckham went out to Preston,
But they were playing that level of football at a young age, and like you said, you're playing against some seasoned players there.
You're playing against
who are going to kick the shit out of you.
Because that it's not to belittle what players do, but it's a lot easier if you're 22 playing against other 22-year-olds.
Yeah.
It's very different if you're playing MDC to go in playing in the NFD and
it's real
up against 32-year-old centre backs.
Yeah.
Who, when you try and do a trick, they're just going to go, cheers,
mate.
See you later.
Or you do it once, it's like, okay, try that again.
And I do think for some guys, not all, obviously some guys are just good enough.
Yeah.
Some guys are just good enough to play top flight straight away. But I think there's with younger players, if you have that stepping stone, I think it's a good space to be in. I mean, you mentioned Dele Alli, but I mean, there's so many over the years that have taken that step. They've taken a step backwards to step forwards. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, 100%. And I think a lot of our players can really take a leaf out of that. I mean, because the NFT is a good level. They can learn a lot from there. Look, some people go there and don't come back, but that's I guess it's probably the way you have to approach it. If you approach it with the right way, the right mindset, you're probably going to learn a lot more than you.
And look, you take a risk because every loan's a risk. When you leave a club on loan, it can be with the best intentions. It can be with, the manager likes you. The team, the way they play, works with your style. You go there, the manager gets fired, they change the style, and all of a sudden you're like, out.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes it's a risk you have to take. If I was a manager or a head coach, as you call him here, if I was a head coach and I had a player who I knew wasn't really going to play for me, he might get a few games every now and again, and then there's a coach down in the second division who I trust, who wants to see and use my guy, I would much rather send him there than have him playing in the MDC every week.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess that's where you need those relationships with the coaches.
Completely,
with each other.
Yeah.
I mean, I was doing the pre-season tournament out in Durban, the KZN Premiers Cup, and I mean, I was with the Real Kings coach, and some of his players had obviously gone up to play for Golden Arrows. I think Ndwa, I forgot the other player's name, but the pride he's focused, like, these are my boys.
Yeah.
These are my boys that come through. Like, you want coaches to have that kind of feeling towards that pride towards players that I've helped to groom this player to be what he is today.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Yeah. No, fantastic. I mean, quickly, just want to touch on the women's league.
We have one. It's amazing. And look, fair play to Safa, because I fully expected them to battle.
Did you expect them to say, we're just going to postpone by that?
Yeah. Look, I never doubted that they were going to do it.
Yeah.
I never doubted that there was something they were going to put in place. What I did doubt was, like, they said August, and then they're like, start of August, on Women's Day, and then mid-August, and then
it's going to be
August somewhere.
Yeah.
But the fact that it actually got launched is amazing. Like, I think it's a massive step. It's not going to fix everything.
Yeah.
It's not like all of a sudden now everything's fine and there's nothing else to work on, but it's a step. And I think that the fact that we've now got a national league where women in South Africa can go that's a milestone for me now. You know, getting to play in the SAFA Women's League is the next step for me. Because before, you know, we had the SASO League. Yeah. But that was kind of it. You know? And it's all been a little bit regional. So now to have that national situation in place is amazing. And it's the perfect time as well, you know, on the back of the World Cup, on the back of Banyana doing so well to get there. You know, we've got people like Jermaine Siupasemwe, who's was playing in the Champions League, Latago Madiba playing in the Champions League currently. Janine van Veek's just signed for a club in Denmark, where she's going to be playing Champions League. You know, there's just a really nice sort of atmosphere around women's football at the minute, and I think that we need to capitalise on it. And I think that what SAF have done by bringing in what they've done now is perfect. You know, it's nice that they've done it in Women's Month. I think it's like a little bit quirky and it's nice, but I just think it had to be done this year. Like I say, it's cool that it's been done in Women's Month. I think that's a really sort of, it ties in nicely. But if they'd done it in November, I think it still would have been good. They just had to be this year. You know, on the back of the World Cup in June, July, they had to make sure they piggybacked off the back of theirs. Well, sort of clung onto their coattails a little bit. You know, you've got to strike while the iron's hot. So I think that they've, like I say, credit to Safa because it's finally happened and it's a massive step for women's football.
Do you think there will be pressure on the bigger clubs to make sure that they get their own women's teams? And I know Sundowns is...
I think there should be.
Yeah.
You know, I think we want to get to a... I mean, as an example, you look at Pirates and you look at Chiefs and you look how many female fans they have. You know, you go to the games and there's such a massive chunk of women supporters for those teams. You can't tell me that there's not young girls around South Africa that want to say, I play for Kaiser Chiefs. And I think that it'll be a massive opportunity missed for, especially the bigger clubs, you know. I understand, you know, if you're a Barocca, it's maybe not financially viable to run a women's team at the minute. I get that. I think we will probably get there at some point. But if I look at the, you know, Supersport United, Bidvest, Kaiser Chiefs, Sundowns obviously already have, Celtic already have, but you want to see it from these big teams. You want to see them having a women's side of things because that's how you build the game. You look at the way that English football's taken it. It's all of a sudden in the last probably 3, 4, 5 years they've gone, we need to wake up to this now. And now you've got teams like Arsenal and Man City and Man United. Man United started theirs up recently properly. And I do think it's an important step for equality because it's the same thing as something daft like, you know, when they brought FIFA out a couple of years ago and they put the women's team on there. Like, some guys will complain and I'm like, why? Do you know what you could do if you don't like it? Don't play with it.
Exactly.
It's not like someone's turning it on and going, right, now you have to play with the women. But you know, but what it did do was all the young female fans around the world, they can go, shit, like I can play with Alex Morgan now. You know, like I can play with Lucy Bronze. I can. They're on my idols are on the game now. Whereas now, and I think when we spoke before, one of the things that I loved about the World Cup was just how inclusive it felt. You know, it just kind of it gave budding women footballers a real, you know, goal, a target, and I think that that's important now that the PSL clubs can try and bandwagon onto that now and jump on this train of women's football because I mean imagine what it would mean to, you know, 12-year-old girl who's playing football on the streets of South Africa. All of a sudden she gets a phone call, you know, someone's seen her playing for her community team and, you know, it's Kaiser Chiefs saying, do you want to come through to Naturina? I mean, it's I think, like I say, it's a situation we need to sort of move into. I have no doubt that it will. You know, they've got, Kaiser Chiefs especially, they've got some very strong women working at that club. And I'm sure they especially would love to see a women's team there at Naturina.
All I'll say is, and I say this with no respect, actually, to give credit to them, if Bloemfontein Celtic can do it with all their financial troubles, with all their challenges,
no, completely,
they're not stopping other people.
Yeah, no, agreed. As long as we work in a system where people are getting paid on time, they're not having their contracts breached, and don't set up a club if you don't set up a women's team if you can't afford to pay them properly. Don't drag them along on this horrible journey where they've got to fight for their money and all that kind of stuff. But if you can afford to do it and you can afford to do it properly, I think it's a must for the next generation of South African football.
All right, so fantastic. That's in closing our show for today. Just a quick one, Joe. There's plenty of excitement. A certain Lion from Fitbank is going to be playing.
Cool.
At the highest level.
It's cool. Look,
Percy Dow.
I think it's amazing because you obviously don't want to hype up too much because we want to get to a point when we're celebrating people like Benny McCarthy who win the Champions League, not just by qualifying for the group stages, but you've got to look at things in relativity. You've got to look at where we've been and where we're at. We had Dino Ndlovu, who's playing for Karabakh. He was playing in the Champions League group stages with them. That was a step. They're not a massive club.
Yeah.
They didn't do particularly well in the group stages, but they were there, and Dino was there. He got to play at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea, things like that. So the next step now is Percy. Percy's come in. Bruges are a big side, big fan base, very successful in Belgium. Finished third in their group last year with a group that had, I think it was Dortmund. Who else was it? Dortmund, Monaco, and someone else. But they finished third in their group. Now Percy's got this chance. He's already sort of hit the ground running with them, and the way that he's sort of settled in is impressive. And I think it's one of the biggest compliments I can pay to Percy is that he's got his head screwed on. Everything that he does with purpose. He went to the NFD, he went to the MDC, he took the step into the ABSA Premiership, the CAF Champions League. When he went to Saint-Gilloise last season, Percy gets sent to the second division on loan in Belgium. A lot of players go, ugh,
don't fancy this.
Can't be arsed with this. What does Percy do? Puts his head down, gets his goals, gets his assists, wins Player of the Year. And people say, it's only the second division. That's not the point. The point is that he was able to find it in his mental space to go, I don't care where I am, I want to be the best I can be here. And I think now he's got that chance in the Champions League where, I actually said the other day that he made his Champions League debut when he played against Dynamo. But he hadn't really. He'd made his debut in the tournament sort of, but not proper. There's no badge on the arm.
Yes, 100%.
There's no theme tune. There's no anthem when you step out there. Now, and look, their first game next month at home against Galatasaray. It's going to be massive. If he gets a nod for that starting lineup, and he's out there on the field, the Champions League anthem playing in the background. And like I say, we don't want to over celebrate this as an achievement in a grand scale, because getting there shouldn't be the achievement. Progressing in it should be, but you have to celebrate it for what it is. And I think that there's a generation of South African players coming through now, like your Percy's and Bongani Zungu, Keegan Dolly, guys like that who. They're forging out a reputation for South African players again, because there was a point when we had the Lucases and the Bennys and the Stephen Pienaars
went dry after that.
And then we had a period of players who would go to a club and they'd get homesick or they'd act up and they'd come home. So then clubs in Europe in the top league started looking and going, so there's a few options here. We got a Nigerian boy, we got a guy from Senegal, we got a guy from South Africa. We've had problems with them before, so we're not going to go for that. Well, let's rather go for a Senegalese boy who we've seen what they've done in Europe. And I think that now there's a massive responsibility on guys like Bongani, on guys like Percy. You look at Keegan, and Keegan has had such a tough time out in France. He's had battles with injuries, but there was an interview he did a week ago, 2 weeks ago. And I think missing the AFCON was a massive blessing for him personally. Obviously, he would have loved to play for Bafana at the AFCON, and I think that I mean, we could have done with him.
Yeah.
He's a player that is good enough to have made an impact. But he's had a full pre-season. You know, he's not pushed an injury that he had and made anything worse. And he just looks like a weight's been lifted off his shoulders, you know. And I've watched him. He's come on in the last 3 games for Montpellier, and they're not a small team here. Like, we're not talking like a low-profile club. Like Montpellier are a big side. They beat Lyon the other day, and he came on for the last 15 minutes. And it says a lot about a player if you're an attacker and you're being brought on when you're winning 1-0 narrowly against Lyon.
Yeah.
Shows the kind of faith that the coach has got in you. Especially having come back just off the back of a long injury. And like I say, I think we need these guys, someone like Lebochin Piri, who are building this reputation of being reliable, of being professional. And I think that the more we have that, the more we'll see players going over. Now you see someone like Korisang, who's gone over to Braga Beat. You've got Luther Sink, who's doing well in Portugal as well. Lyle Foster over at Monaco, he's going to go on loan to Cercle Bruges. Like, and I think this generation is. And look, I don't want to sound like Europe is the be all and end all. Because, you know, it's not. You know, it's not the only place to be. And rather be playing for Mamelodi Sundowns, playing CAF Champions League towards the you know, if you're in the peak of your career at 28, 29, rather be at Sundowns winning trophies than playing in the 2nd division of Sweden. But if you're a youngster and you want to get your foot on that ladder, look, the best leagues in the world right now are in Europe. That's not me being biased because I'm English. It's just a fact. If you look at the World Cup winners come from teams playing in Europe. You look at the AFCON. The AFCON winners, Algeria. 90% of their team played in Europe. Senegal, who came second, every single player of theirs was playing in Europe. So like it's not a sort of a turning your nose up at what Africa's doing as a continent, but you know, you want to be at the best company in your industry. You know, like you work for Supersport. You know, you are at the top of your game in South Africa. But if ESPN, if you know Sky Sports or something like that, maybe you get tempted elsewhere.
No, I'm loyal to you. No, you're not going to do this to me on this platform. No, I ain't going anywhere. Supersport, I love you guys.
But you know what I mean? Like, you know, if you're I'm a journalist, right? I work for Soccer Duma, but if the New York Times turn around and say, oh yeah, we want to hire you, I'm like, cool. Sorry guys.
Sign me up.
So I think in every industry you want to be at the top of your game, and right now it might change in the future, who knows, but right now Europe is the place to be, and if you want to be at the top level. And I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that the UEFA Champions League is the best club tournament in the world. And what Percy will do now is he will put himself in a shop window. You know, he goes and he plays Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. Sure, maybe Real Madrid aren't going to go, he's the player for us. But what does happen is everybody's watching that game. So maybe Real Madrid don't go, cool, we'll sign him, but Villarreal might. You know, someone in Serie A, someone, you know, Inter Milan, AC Milan, someone looks at him and goes, yeah, you could do a job for us. And like I say, I just think the more people we have in that shop window, the better. And Percy is being a fantastic sort of pallbearer at the minute. His attitude is incredible. His work ethic is amazing. Aside from the fact that he's a great footballer, I just think, like I say, I think he's a perfect role model for kids as well. You know, you look at South Africa and you look at his story, and like I say, from going from Witbank Spurs to MDC to league title to CAF Champions League to Belgian 2nd division, like he's taken, you can see very specific stepping stones in his career, and all the way through it, he's kept his head level, and I think that is the sort of role model that you want people to be looking up to.
You speak of attitude. In closing, really, I mean, any youngster who watches a player like Percy Tau can take a lot from him, because it's very easy for players to say, I'm too good for this.
100%, yeah.
And so he goes to Belgium 2nd division. He could have just been rubbish there, because it's like, why
he was too good for it.
Why am I
and
playing?
We all know he's too good for it.
I mean, maybe he thought that, but he went and showed it that I'm too good for this. And that's why then the next loan deal is to a top team in the top division.
Percy worked the hand that he was dealt, you know,
And and it's not easy to do that.
No,
a lot of
not at
people
all.
really just
Not
turn their
at all.
nose up to those sort of challenges.
Yeah, agreed. And like I say, I do think that with Percy, his move to the second division in Belgium did make him a better player. I have no doubt. You know, Do I think that he would have improved more if he was playing at Brighton or at Club Brugge last season? Of course he would. Do I think that playing in the Belgian second division was a waste of time? No. I think that it served its purpose. I think that, I don't know if you noticed during the AFCON, he looks a lot more defensively sound in terms of tracking back, in terms of the defensive aspect of his game, which is something that he's picked up while playing in Belgium. You know, you don't get that playing at Sundowns because you don't have to defend.
Yeah.
Because no one is really attacking you. You know, for the most part, when you're a Sundowns player, you're the one doing the attacking. So I think the Belgian second division was good for him in terms of his game, and I also think it was good for him in terms of his mental state as well. You know, you go there and you've got to kind of forge out a whole new reputation for yourself, and I don't think it was any surprise to anybody that he did so well. You know, as you said, he is too good to be there, but it was important for him to prove that, and he did. And, you know, now he's at Club Brugge, who are a massive club with a massive history, and people watch them, which is the most important thing. You know, Percy might never play for Brighton. You know, that is the reality of the situation. The work permit may be a problem for him until he leaves.
Yeah.
But what he has done is he's taken the opportunity that he's been given, and he's made the most of it. And you can't fault him. He's done a phenomenal job out there, and long may it continue. Yeah,
100%. Well, I guess that plenty to talk about as always, but I think it's a wrap for today.
Yeah, I agree.
Salute to Joe Crann. He's gonna go do some work. Really appreciate the time again.
Always, man. Always.
Yeah, always fantastic to catch up with you, and I'm sure we'll have you again on the show just to sum things up for us. Maybe halfway through the season, or maybe earlier. I don't know if something dramatic happens. Joe is our
Something's
go-to man.
definitely gonna happen.
It sounds like you're looking into that crystal ball, Joe.
No, I just know what the PSL is like.
That's a wrap for the FisMaz Show for this episode. Thank you for listening in. We really appreciate it, and don't forget, keep following us on social media. Keep downloading the show. Keep showing us some love, man, on all platforms at Podzilla Media, at FisMaz Show. We love you, but we gotta leave you. It's a wrap for the FisMaz Show. Goodbye.